Show. This is a kids-friendly Canadian Open by Ron PGA Betsperts Golf DFS show. Hello, Ron. How are you on this fine Wednesday?
Yeah, I was telling you, like the Harry Higgs look you had there with the shirt.
Button one down.
Yeah. Credit to Harry though, winning back-to-back events. Need him back on tour as soon as possible. But I love this event. It's an amazing course with all the dramatic elevation changes. I don't remember how many people kind of watched it back in 2019, but distance control on approach off the tee is going to be crucial. And I don't know about you, but I think here in America we don't maybe fully comprehend. This is like Canada's major, and we kind of just see this as another event on the PGA Tour schedule. But we saw last year with Nick Taylor's win that this event means the world to our friends north of the border. So, a good number of Canadian golfers, I think, have a great chance to kind of repeat what Nick Taylor did last year.
Yeah, we've got a really good crop of them this week, and it's going to be fun to see them try and defend. It would be really cool if another Canadian, if it's not Nick Taylor, I would love it if it is Nick Taylor, but it would be cool if just another Canadian won it and started like this defense of the Canadian Open, right? Like just having the Canadian core just kind of holding down the fort would be so cool to like generate a storyline. So what are you looking for on distance off the tee? Is not that big of a deal. Rory finishing sixth in driving accuracy while averaging 300 yards off the tee was a bit of a cheat code. I don't know if we're going to see exactly that kind of a profile from him again this year, but I was taking a look, and the top 5 guys who finished on the leaderboard there had gained 1.4 or 1.5 strokes per round, at least putting per round, the top 5 on the board. So you have to putt well at this venue. So we'll have to see if Rory can get the putter rolling. I don't know. We're kind of speaking about the course and Rory at the same time here for some reason, but this is the by Ron show. This is what you get. But at the same time, Ron, between 100 and 200 yards, that range right there is going to be very important, which again, for Rory, doesn't quite like suit his game, So I don't know why I keep comparing the key things I'm looking for, but as you can tell, I'm probably not playing Rory McIlroy this week. And then other things you're looking for, just making sure you can putt. Like I said, you have to make those putts. So that's for me, all I'm looking for is accuracy and putting.
Yeah, so I think the Canadian Open is kind of, it's usually a couple weeks before the U.S. Open, and U.S. Open is a little different this year at Pinehurst, but typically it's been good preparation because you usually have long rough. I mean, a lot of these Canadian Open tracks, even last year at Oakdale, you got narrow fairways, and so for me, it's kind of you need every club in the bag type week. I know going back, longer hitters I think can kind of bomb and gouge this course. We saw Rory do it. DJ was another one in 2019 who just took everything over the bunkers and the dog legs. And, this year the course is, around 180 yards longer. But like you said, at its core, Hamilton is definitely a less than driver positional track, only averaged 283 yards off the tee, 55% fairway accuracy, and only 59% driver usage in 2019. And so, like you said, accuracy, I think, is still at the top of the list. Rabbit hole, distance from edge of the fairway. Now, you don't have a lot of like actual hazards. There's a creek that kind of runs through, but only really affects like one hole. You do have, with the renovation, I think Martin Ebert did a great job of these fairway bunkers, just watching the flyover of the course. They look pretty challenging, with the edges kind of penal. And so I think even with a lot of tree removal compared to 2019, these fairways remain tight. A lot of mature trees players are going to have to deal with. So, you only have 2 par 5s again this week as well. So I think scoring, I'm hearing a mixed bag from people out there. But I think it's going to be more challenging than Oakdale was last year. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at something like even 14, 15 under. I don't see it as this, some people saying a putting contest or high scoring. I just don't see that.
It's interesting, Ron, because I'm kind of thinking, I think I want to say that minus 15 is going to be definitely the score that hits this year. I think looking at the weather, doesn't seem like the wind's going to be picked up that much. And when you need accuracy off the tee and the wind isn't blowing, that's ideal, right? So I think maybe this course's biggest defense of the rough will be slightly nullified because of the lack of wind, affecting those tee balls. So maybe not, and if someone gets hot with the putter, they can take a course apart at any given moment. So we know that from Nick Taylor. So Ron, let's dive into the slate here. 4 guys in the 10K range: Rory at 12-1, Sahith Theegala 10-5, Tommy Fleetwood 10-3, and Shane Lowry 10-1. Where are we going over here?
Yeah, so looking like for me, comparing this week to last week a little bit, obviously these courses are similar. I think last week, just big picture view here, the 5K range had a lot more depth last week. Like I look at that range this week and I'm just not seeing much that's exciting me. There's a few guys in the 6Ks. So, and just overall, if you look, there's not a lot of win equity in this field. I mean, even up top, a lot of these guys, when you look at Fleetwood, Lowry, Alex Noren, Cam Young, they're kind of known more for not winning, even though they're great players. They just haven't won a lot. And so I think that's part of the reason that Rory on Data Golf, they gave him a 13% chance to win this week. And I mean, that's why he's going to be a staple in my lineups. And I know you've already said you're going the opposite way, but I mean, look, his floor is very high. And we all know he has the ceiling to win. And if you look at his kind of over the past, I guess, basically when I look back, he only has 2 finishes outside of the top 25 in over a year. So he's just been ultra consistent. He's pretty much a guaranteed made cut. He's got 12 top 9s. So again, obviously at this price, we want him to win. But I think he can still be in the winning lineup, even if he finishes, somewhere in the top 5. Maybe even a little past that. And so, you compare a guy like, Theegala, who I'm sure you're on this week. He's finished outside the top 25 16 times in the same time period. So obviously, I think Theegala has made some improvements, but he's a guy I'm still not at that price range. I'd rather drop down to Tommy Fleetwood. I really think this could be Tommy's week. I know I said this before, but look, he's been incredibly close in this event, obviously losing in the playoff to Nick Taylor last year. He finished 6th in 2018 at the Canadian Open. So he's had 4 top 13s over the last 3 months. Obviously, he, again, finished 3rd at the Masters. And so I think if you look at his performance lately, he's had spike weeks in each of the strokes gained categories. And so on a shorter course, fits his game. I don't think he should have any trouble finishing somewhere up top again. And the third guy I'm playing from this upper range, if we're talking just 10Ks here, I think Shane Lowry loves Canada, got 3 top 12s, second best player on par 70s, 7th on comp courses, and obviously, again, was runner-up here in 2019. And the thing we always talk about with him, if he can just putt, well, he gained 7.7 strokes putting on this same course. Now, the greens are different, okay? The greens have been renovated. They're larger. But just looking back at that, it may be a glimmer of hope that he can actually get it down to flat stick this week.
Yeah. If I'm expecting this course to at least play to -15, -17, if I'm expecting it to play easier, I want to Sahith Theegala. I don't want a Tommy Fleetwood or a Shane Lowry. But I will be paying Tommy Fleetwood for a top 10, if that helps you understand where I'm at with him. I think they're both going to be very popular, kind of the same as Sahith. So I'm going to just take my stance with Sahith there and go to him. Shane, the fun part about Shane is he putted well last time, and he putted well at the PGA Championship. But everyone's forgetting he lost 14 strokes putting, leading up to that in 2 tournaments. It can be very bad with him too. That's why I was very tempted to play Shane Lowry T20 as well, but I'm also not going to just touch him this week. I think I'm going to go all in Sahith and see where that goes. Likely going in on Alex Noren as well, because he's just playing too consistent right now, Ron. And you mentioned Sahith, his consistency outside the top 25, but he's also got more top 10s than Rory in this year. He's got that upside when he shows up. So he can also putt very, very well. He's the best putter in the field. So that's why I like him. Alex Noren, Jesus, he's been playing so well, consistently well, and that's the thing. It's what are we really going to get from Alex Noren outside of a T12 or a 9th place finish this week?
Yeah, and so here's something I looked at. So with this being a par 70 course, obviously there's only 2 par 5s in which to score. So one thing I like to do in these situations is analyze which players have had the most success on par 70s, who also maybe you look at their par 5s And you look at a guy like Alex Noren, who's 110th in par 5 scoring. So he's not relying on par 5s. And you look on par 70s, he's 15th in this field. And so there's a number of guys who, if you kind of look and see, okay, who's relying on par 5s to score, you're not going to have that this week. And so I think Alex Noren, that kind of boosts him a little bit more. I think that's a great thing maybe to even use as a tiebreaker if you're stuck on guys, who plays really well on these par 70s. And I mean, he's got, like you said, his ceiling is kind of capped. He's got 8 straight top 25s. But just his consistency, I think he's very playable at 9.9 for sure.
Yeah, this entire situation here in this 9-8K range has got a whole bunch of guys that have elite strokes gained metrics, like strokes gained total, but their upside and their finish rates, like top 10, top 5 finish rates, are abysmal. And some of them non-existent. Like Corey Connors, $9,500, does not have a top 10 in the last 12 months of golf. Yet he's got the 9th best strokes gained total, right? Like, that's a wolf in sheep's clothing if I've ever seen one. But he's the lowest priced of the Canadians without a top 10 run. Nick Taylor in the last 12 months got 2 more wins than Corey Connors has top 10s. Like, what are we doing?
Well, Corey Connors, I went back and looked. So if you take out strong field events, Corey Connors has not missed the cut in a week to average field event since September of 2022. So he might be perhaps the most consistent player on tour, yes. but like you said, I mean, his approach game is just like, if you look at the last 2 events, PGA Championship, Wells Fargo, he gained 15 strokes on approach in just those 2. So he just has this tremendous ball striking skill set. He's going to hit fairways. It's just when he gets around the greens, and again, should mention these greens, when you look at the flyover, every single green, there's really no rough around the greens. It's all short grass. And so this is going to test some of these guys who maybe struggle on tight lies, who struggle from some of these, collection areas. And so I think that's going to be the challenge, which probably caps his winning potential this week again. But it's just interesting, how just how consistent this guy has been.
It's incredible. It's incredibly consistent, and it's consistently above average, if that makes any sense, right? Which is insane to think about, like the fact that he's just rattling off all these incredible finishes, but he's got the second highest T40 rate in the field, yet hasn't got a top 10. It's just unbelievable stuff there. So 2 other names that I will be looking at that I think I was expecting to be a little less owned, but I guess the 14-15% range for Sam Burns and Maverick McNeely. If I mentioned I want guys that can putt, these are guys that can putt, and they can putt very well. I would not be shocked if either of them leads the field in putting by the end of the week. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. But they're $94, $9,200. I feel like they're very affordable. Maverick McNeely also hasn't got a top 5 in the last 12 months. So you're dealing with that, but he's only $9,200. Maybe this is the week. So I like Sam Burns because we've seen this guy just dial in the wedges, dial in the putter. So lots to like there. Adam Scott seeming like the pivot in this range, which is fine. I'll go to him. He's actually one of my best ranked golfers. It's just we're lacking a bit of upside from Adam as well in this range. Where's that firepower that we've seen from him? Consistent, but lacking basically Corey Connors, essentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on Burns. I think his ownership is surprising to me as well, because you look at his past, recent results just haven't been where they've, typically have for him. But I think in this range, I think we'd both agree Sam Burns has the most upside by far in this range. His iron play has been steadily improving. He gained 2.7 on approach at the PGA Championship. So rated 6th overall in my model. And I mean, when you look across the board, probably more of a result of a weaker field that he ranks so highly in a lot of these categories. But I just think that just shows the talent that he has overall. And yeah, I think Adam Scott is kind of like, I mean, him and Corey Connors are very similar in a lot of ways, just because of their upside is just, just can't get over the hump. Now, Adam Scott does have more top 10s than Connors, but I think they're guys who, Adam Scott with the putter, I think a little bit of his, his ability to bomb it off the tee is neutralized here. But I just think, he finished 8th in my model as well. So he's an ultra consistent guy. But yeah, for me, and I'll start here with like in the 8s, upper 8s. So Aaron Rai is just a guy who I don't want to play because what if putting does and like you said, it does matter this week because this course played. You had to gain strokes here last time. He's second best ball striker in the field. Aaron Rai is. He's gained over 19 strokes ball striking in his last 3 events. We've seen some glimpses with the putter. He's had a few weeks where he's been positive here and there. And actually, if you look at the 10 to 15 foot range, he's in the top 20 in this field putting. It's just for some reason outside of those ranges, especially closer, like he just 5 to 10, he struggles. So some of it just doesn't make sense. But I think at 8.9, when I looked at strokes gained Canada, I think he's the second best player in this field. So if you can get a top 15 from him at 8-9, I think you take that.
I think he's going to be. He's projecting at 14% right now. I think he's going to push 20. I think he's going to jump into the 20s at some point. He could be one of the highest owned guys behind, maybe Rory. I would not be shocked because he's catching so much steam.
Yeah, and so my other 2 guys in the top 8, I think Tom Kim at 8.6. Again, I think we've seen him. When you look, okay, nothing spectacular. 24th at Colonial last week, 26th at the PGA Championship, and then he's kind of been middling recently. But again, we're seeing off the tee game is improving. Okay, gained over 5 strokes the last 2 events off the tee. And I think we've seen before his ability to pop. And so you have a course that's not super long, kind of short to average. And so I think I'm seeing 16, 17%, which wish it was a little lower, but I think his win equity at this range, I think you have to take a bite of that. And then Adam Hadwin, I'm seeing 9, 10%, which is, I don't know if these numbers are off. I don't know what you see him at, but yep. I think he should be much higher. He's on the President's Cup bubble, and, we talk a lot about, as a golfer, if they're motivated, is that really going to make them play better? Probably not, but I think he's ultra focused this week. He's one of the best wedge putters as far as you're looking at short game in this field. He was 6th here in 2019. I looked at comp courses. He's the 11th best in this field. So I think Adam Hadwin is actually a pretty good value at 8,500.
Yeah. Just in general, Ron, on the Canadians not named Corey Connors, I found I'm very bullish on all 4 of them. Hadwin, Nick Taylor, Pendrith, and who's the other guy? Mackenzie Hughes. Those 4 guys, I feel, they all possess more upside than Corey because of those top 5s, top 10s, and they're all cheaper and they're all less owned. I think if you sprinkle those guys in versus Corey, I think you got a good chance of if I'm not playing Corey Connors and Rory this week, you can play almost anyone you want, really. Outside of just sticking to chalk, but you get what I'm saying. So I'm a big fan of all these Canadians. Nick Taylor and Tom Kim being in the 8K range with 5 total wins in the last 2 years is incredible. That to me that's win potential, right? Yeah. And we got Akshay with another win too. So EVR with wins, lots of guys that can win tournaments. Then you get Keith Mitchell at $8,700, who is basically that Corey Connors situation. The guy's gained the 4th total most strokes in this field. He's 3rd in ball striking. His best finish this year, T9. How is this a thing, Keith? Where's the conversion of this incredible golf that you're playing right now? We need to see it. So, doesn't look like he's going to be popular, Ron. If a Keith Mitchell comes in around 10, 11%, is this the week? If history repeats itself, likely not. He's going to just finish inside the top 20 again.
Yeah, the short game worries me a little bit with him, especially on short grass. He's better from the rough. And I'll tell you, just 2 guys I'm fading down here. So I'm fading Eric Van Rooyen and Mark Hubbard. Now, the reasons, part of it is when you look at Eric Van Rooyen, he's 17th in par 5 scoring, but he's 123rd on par 70 courses. Okay. Same thing with Mark Hubbard. Mark Hubbard is 28th in par 5 scoring. He's 85th on par 4s that are par 70, I should say. So just kind of when you're trying to narrow guys down, I know sometimes we kind of look for anything we can. And so for me, Nick Taylor, I'm going to play him. His recent form does concern me a little bit. But again, I think at this event, as big a stage this is for him, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him kind of bounce back this week. But Akshay's my guy down here. Just obviously, you talked about the win. Even with 3 straight poor weeks, he's still the 9th best player in this field over the last 3 months because he had that incredible stretch. And even if you look at, he missed the cut at the PGA Championship, he still gained 5 strokes on approach in those 2 rounds. And so I'm kind of like you. I'm banking on his upside here. And so he's going to be my main guy down in this lower 8K range.
This AK has got some killers. We've got some serious winning potential in this AK range, Ron. So love all of these guys. In the 7s, like we've mentioned, Taylor Pendrith, someone I'm a big fan of this week as well, looking kind of popular, though, in the double-digit ownership. So we'll have to monitor that. Maybe instead of him, going to Daniel Berger, who, by the way, is starting to figure his stuff out a little bit. Starting to see the tee to green game is there. Now we just need the putter to show up. And that was one of Daniel Berger's greatest strengths when he was DB straight vibing back in 2023, 2022. So I might be tempted to play a bit of him. I know Ben Griffin, if this is a very scrambler kind of golf course, Ben Griffin can get up and down from just about anywhere. And then it's back to that season, Ron. Seamus Power. We're back to speaking about Seamus Power on the Betsperts by Ron DFS golf show here for the RBC Canadian Open. Short positional golf course. Sign me up. Approach play in the last little while. Good. 2 top 20s in the last little while. Let's go. $7,200, Ron.
Yeah, we are very aligned in this 7K range. Daniel Berger, has made 4 cuts in a row. He's the 8th best ball striker in this field, even since his return. He's kind of been pretty steady from a ball striking standpoint, so slowly rounding back into form. He thrives. He always has thrived on par 70 courses. And again, he had the injury. He's been out a while, but he still has the upside and the experience kind of beyond anybody else in this range. And then, Taylor Pendrith, he's a top 10 player. When you get Taylor Pendrith on a less than driver course, we always think of his power off the tee, and he does have that ability, but for some reason, maybe when he's forced to club down, it just kind of controls his game a little bit more. And so, top 10 player in this field on those courses. I mean, three top 11s in his last 4. He barely missed the cut at the PGA. So I think this is a pretty good price for him. And, one guy you didn't mention who might be my favorite play on the slate, and a guy who, when you get into this low 7K range, you don't want to see anything in double digits, but, I'm seeing right around 10% for Adam Svensson. Another Canadian here, 20th off the tee in my model, 8th on approach. If you look at his last 6 tournaments, he's gained over 18 strokes on approach in those last 6. And I mean, he's a guy who's won multiple times on tour. He's trending upwards. He's made 6 straight cuts. He was just 24th last week at Colonial, which again is a comp course to Hamilton. And Bentgrass, he's a guy who again struggles with the short game. Bentgrass is his best putting surface. So I love him. And again, completely agree with you on Seamus. He just gained 7 strokes on approach, at his last event at the Wells Fargo, finished 16th. And, he's got 6 top 31s in the last 3 months. And so I think this is kind of a misprice here. I think he should be a little bit higher in the 7K range. And so, and then just some other guys, I think Nikolai Højgaard and Ryan Fox, both have some spike ability here. Obviously, both of those guys are world-class players. Obviously Højgaard played on the Ryder Cup team. Ryan Fox has won multiple DP World Tour events. So again, if you're looking for even Robert McIntyre sitting there at 71, I think these guys all have some upside just from their past experience and their ability to play on courses that could be challenging, long rough. I think each of those guys kind of thrives in those conditions.
Ryan Fox and Nikolai Højgaard are actually matched up against each other in a week long. And it's kind of funny, Ron, because they both 51st and 58th in strokes gained total this year. 2 incredible talents that should have done a bit more so far. Foxy's got this weekend problem. I've been on him for the last little bit, and it's looking good until the weekend, and which is kind of fine if you're looking for someone to make the cut. But at 4%, I think maybe we can go back to him. Maybe he continues that momentum a little bit, but it's been a bit of a struggle. Someone that I think, Ron, is a buy low stock right now is Robert McIntyre. He's not exciting. But if you take a look at his overall game, it's kind of just it's solid across the board. It's like the Scottish vanilla yogurt. It's like I don't know what to make of it, but you just throw a few berries in there, and all of a sudden things are looking good. So maybe some Canadian maple syrup in that yogurt gets the Robert McIntyre situation looking good there. So he's really starting to pull some finger, and at $7,100, I'm down for him. Out of all the DP World Tour guys struggling, he seems to be showing up a bit. This is the DP Tour World range. Fox, Ollison, Hitsune, all of these guys hanging out over here. So in the sixes, Ron, one of my favorite ranges is going to be the CT Pan guy, $6,700. Love this kind of a golf course for him. Accuracy off the tee, mid-range irons, make a few putts. Some other options, Andrew Novak, Ben Silverman, all guys I'm in the mood for. And then Gary Woodland, Ron, US Open champion in 2019 when they played at Pebble. Short positional golf course, right? This golf course, same situation. Gary, last week, gained tons of strokes putting. And that's been the part of his game that's like really been struggling the last little while. The ball striking has been solid for Gary, but the putter, the chipping hasn't quite been there. Maybe it's coming around $6,200. I'm willing to take a gamble. And then Jorge Campillo. If you take a look at what this guy can get up to, these are short game little maestro. I'm all about that. I think his accuracy is he's the guy that I'm looking for in this department because he lacks the distance, but he can keep it in the fairway. So nice putting guy there. So those are my 6K options. And I guess I gave them away before we did our little draft, but
we're good. We'll just go right into it today. So let me say one guy I skipped over, and you mentioned him, is Ryo Hisatsune, and he finished. I had to double check this. He actually finished 23rd overall in my model. I mean, I went back and checked, and he finished 18th at the PGA Championship. He was 13th before that at the Byron Nelson. So he's a guy who has kind of popped for some different events on the calendar. Even 33rd at the Valspar. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I am seeing around 9-10% ownership.
That's too much.
Yeah, it is too much. But again, I always take a second look when I see a guy finish that high because my model's pretty in depth, and so I'll have to make a decision on him. But yeah, people, and I know most people are completely off this guy, but I'm jumping back on Eric Cole this week. He finished 32nd for me. He's sitting there at 6,800. Look, we all know he's been struggling. Every part of his game around the green is still, pretty solid. But I just think this course, he's third. Even in his short career, he's third on par 70s. He's eighth in comp courses. He's got the third best par 4 birdie or better percentage in this field if you go back over the last year. And again, you have 2 extra par 4s this week. So I'm going to jump back on. Now I am seeing, I don't know if you're seeing, I'm seeing 7-8%, which seems high to me. So that may kind of shine me away at the end here, but I think I do like his game this week.
He's exciting.
Just overall, I mean, I think he fits the course, and I'd rather be early with him than to jump back on later. So another guy, I completely agree with you. Gary Woodland, I think is 6,200. I think, he plays, again, these par 70s well. He plays well on comp courses that are similar to this, less than driver. He always seems to perform better than, a bomber type track. I got Michael Kim as another guy here at 6,600. I think his scoreability, par 4s, he's 7th best player in this field on par 4s. So he's another one I'll be looking at. And, Mac Meisner is a guy who kind of jumped on everybody's radar last week. I was on him last week, and I know, I'm seeing 7-8% for him, which is kind of way too high for a 6,500 guy. But he has shown a lot of ability here. And so I think if you're trying to fill out the bottom of your lineup and if you can get different in other areas. So he's a guy. Chesson Hadley finished, another guy, top 35 of my model, who's also really good on par 4s. So I'm going to kind of be just kind of spraying around down here. I don't think anybody maybe over 5 to 6, 7%. Sam Ryder, another great price at 6,200. Probably my favorite guy, though. And I don't know if you'd agree with me. I think he's a huge misprice. Okay, 6,100. Bryce Garnett, a guy who, like, in the past, I would hear his name and just be like automatic pass, just no. But if you look, like, this is a guy who's hitting fairways and greens nonstop. He's so accurate off the tee, especially recently. If you look at, you have, three really long par threes this week. And so when you look at par three scoring from 200 plus yards, Bryce Garnett is in the top 10 in this field on those longer par threes. He just won 10 weeks ago. And if you look, 18th at an elevated event, RBC Heritage, 35th at the Players, 35th at the PGA Championship. So, he might be perhaps the best value on the board. If you just put him at the bottom of your lineup, you can do so much around that at 6,100. So those will be my 6K guys.
And that's at half the ownership of the likes of, Eric Cole, Ryo Hitsatsuni, which is cool.
Yep.
That's what you're looking for. He's gained the 14th most strokes in the field, Ron, in 2024. Hasn't played much, but, that's still been playing some good golf when he has, which is exciting. So
he's also first in bogey avoidance in the entire field. Number one, bogey avoidance.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm down. That will come into play because of the courses he's potentially played. He has pulled up his stuff, and it's been a bit of, the Valspar and the Puerto Rico Open and stuff like that. So Byron Nelson, that's going to help your bogey avoidance, but still solid option. I'm a big fan of that right there, Ron. Some other options, 21 in strokes gained total, $5,900, Chandler Phillips. Like these, we've got some gems down here, that some guys that are playing some really, really good golf. And then you can say the same thing about Robbie Shelton. He's right down here as well, $5,700. Also been jamming out. Kelly Craft been playing nicely. I've got a top 10 bet on Aaron Badley. He finishes inside the top 40 bet on Aaron Badley 45% of the time. And he's 2-1 for a top 40 bet, like at a short positional golf course that requires good putters. Aaron Badley he's like top 5 in the PGA Tour in putting. So I love that. And then if you think about like Chad Ramey showing up to the TPC Sawgrass, Chad Ramey should have showed up to Colonial last week. He's played really well there. You've seen what happens to guys that go to these golf courses that kind of suit their style. Davis Riley just shows up out of nowhere at a golf course he's played well at and wins. Maybe this is a course fit for Chad Ramey. Like he's the short guy that can make putts. I like Chad Ramey at $5,500. Then Aaron Cockerell kind of pops up a little bit here as a short game specialist from Canada, which can kind of get things done for you there. So those are some of the names that I've got popped in here. I'm kind of curious to see where you coming across here, Ron.
Man, I'm going to disappoint you because you said there's really only 3 guys I'm playing here, and you said every single one. Chandler Phillips, 29th in my model for the week. If you look at, kind of struggles a bit off the tee, which I think this week will, maybe the lack of hazards, having a club down will help him a little bit. But if you look at his game approach through putting, like he's just solid in all those areas. So I love Phillips. Kelly Craft has been a guy who hasn't played a ton. He hasn't got into a ton of events, but we saw him at the Zurich with Kevin Tway. I think they finished top 10. He's the 3rd best on approach for me this week. 10th in bogey avoidance. Number 1 player. If you look at birdie or better on par 5s over 12 months, he is the top player in this field. So Kelly Craft, another great value, 57. And then you said Robbie Shelton. We saw Robbie Shelton kind of pop last week. He's a little more consistent making cuts recently, which again, if you get a made cut out of anybody down this range, I think you'll take that. Obviously you want to get some upside in as well. And I think Robbie Shelton showed some of that last week, that he has the ability to finish, top 10, top 15. So I'm not dropping down too much into this range. I think those 6K guys and, kind of that lower 7K range is where I'm going to be living a lot out of.
Yeah. I'm just looking though, and I'm fancying a lot of these guys down here, which means I think I'm likely going to have to multi-entry this week to some capacity. No Scotty in the field, so I'm down for that. I think that kind of opens up the multi-entry contest a little bit, especially if people are going to be playing Rory and he sucks it up. So we'll see. Hopefully that's the case. Ron, tell the people what the heck is going on in your life for the rest of this Wednesday.
Hey, yeah, we got, if you haven't checked out the rabbit hole yet, again, get over there. We got some deals with Underdog. We still got a deal with Vivid. If you want to get, a coupon, just DM us, me, Ryan Noonan, send it over to Betsperts Golf. Any of us, we will help you out, get you in the rabbit hole. But yeah, we got some. I'll put out some DFS ownership later tonight. DraftKings article, all that good stuff. I love digging into these 3 balls. The first round, that's my specialty. First round, second round, third round. Getting into those 3 balls, and it's just so interesting. And that's one thing. The rabbit hole. We got player pages. They're already out there, so you can actually click on them, but they're pretty much very close to being finished. But it's just interesting. We have a graph on there where you can go and look at each player by round over the last year, and you can kind of see these players who kind of tend to pop. And it's just interesting. A guy like Andrew Novak, who just plays so well on Thursdays and Fridays, and then the weekend comes, and like Ryan Fox, he just kind of collapses. And so, guy that I always love to take advantage of, in 3 balls. So, yeah, lots of stuff coming out. So keep checking the site.
Who are your 3 balls, Ron? Let's give the people a little teaser. Yeah, we've kind of run short. So
I don't do my 3 ball research until Wednesday evenings, and so I'll be doing that here in the next few hours. But yeah. It's just, it's a mix of looking at historical data for that round, and obviously recent form, obviously course fit, and it all goes in together to kind of, not. I used to have a model for it, but I think the rabbit hole is very helpful. Even the floor ceiling tool that we have, which kind of lets you look for upside, and you can look by round, you can look by, pretty much any condition you want. So. That's a really good tool for even if you're betting first round leaders. So check it out.
Awesome stuff. You want to hear my farewell 5 3 ball parlay?
Let's hear it.
So it's Alex Noren as the first 3 ball versus in this pairing. There's a Trainer and a Martin. I think there's Ben Martin and Martin Trainer in the same group. So Martin Trainer is in there twice. Fun stuff. Then I got Sam Burns over Svensson and Woodland. I got Aaron Rye over Cole and Palmer, and then I got Mav McNeely over Højgaard and Shelton. So that one was the risky one, but I'm a fan of those other 3 guys.
Yeah, and Aaron Rye, obviously first round guy. That's his best round by far. And even Eric Cole, even before he was struggling, he was a first round darling. So yeah. I love those plays. Love it.
Yeah, taking a gamble on Cole, not quite showing up, but he's burnt me a few times already, but dragged me over the coals, so to speak. But awesome stuff, folks. Thank you for tuning in to the Byron Show here over at betspertsgolf.com for the RBC Canadian Open. We'll be back for the Murfield Village Jack Nicklaus MasterCard Invitational presented by Milkshakes and Ice Cream, right, Ron? Is that what's next week?
It's the Memorial, man. Call whatever you want.
I couldn't remember it.
Yep. And then we got Pinehurst in 2 weeks, so looking forward to that as well.
Very exciting run of golf coming up. And the RBC Canadian, man, it's a fun tournament. It's becoming one of my mini little top 5 favorite courses or tournaments to go and watch. The Canadians just know how to do it. So let's have a good week. Let's hit our bets. Let's crush the DFS world. And guys, don't forget to pivot your face off.